Hi there. Today on Something to Talk About, we talk about an element of the traditional Christmas season, and unfortunately, it's Christmas crime. Today, we're going to be talking with Officer Paul Tapao from the Guam Police Department. He'll tell us how you can avoid being a victim of the crimes during Christmas and other safety tips that will help you get through the season, right here on Something to Talk About. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us on Something to Talk About. Of course, we're at King's Restaurant. You can see the array of holiday food that we have. I know, sorry, Paul. Officer Paul Tapao, old friend of ours. Well, not old, but, you know, longtime friend of our stations. And, of course, we try to work you into as many, events as we could possibly think of. Because you've been doing Crime Stoppers, and it's actually worked.
Yes.
And that's one of the most successful programs for people to report crimes. And you guys have expanded the program to include more technology and more opportunities for people to find a way to contact Crime Stoppers anonymously. This is a busy season, huh, Christmas?
Yeah, Christmas is actually the busiest time for police officers in particular, and of course for everybody in general. Everybody has obligations, there's expectations about that perfect gift. There's obligations for Christmas parties. And of course, the festive time is to celebrate the season of Christmas.
Yeah.
So people get caught up on a lot of things. And, for our side with the Guam Police Department, this is where we see a spike in car break-ins, in home break-ins, and of course in auto crashes and everything, particularly those with DUI offenses. So, yeah, it's one of those seasons where we buckle down as a department, as an agency, and we prepare for the season in accordance to what comes our way.
And you're right. I mean, people are really desperate about this time, right? There are people who don't necessarily have the resources throughout the year, to make ends meet all the time. But there's some really hardworking people that also get a little desperate.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of stress factors that come into play. Like we said, there's a lot of expectations. Everybody wants to have that one memorable Christmas, and we're seeing a lot of, common crimes being committed, and we're also seeing some really sad crimes, some really crimes that shouldn't have been committed, that could have been prevented. So, it really, you're going to see a spike in domestic violence cases too coming up this time of year because of the stress factor, and it's just with the expectations of Christmas.
Let's just talk about the expected crimes of the season. For example, you're talking about car break-ins, and they usually happen around the shopping centers, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, it's an opportunity, and we always stress that criminals, they're very optimistic kind of people. They want to go in there, and they have that 50 what we call the 50-50 percentile of actually the reward is greater than the risk. And simple as 10 seconds just to break into a window or break into a car and just grab the valuables that are exposed. I mean, that reward, it outweighs the risk. I mean, it's so easy that everybody that's capable of committing a crime is going to do it.
So they're passing in a parking lot. They kind of peer in the window, and somebody's Macy's bags are all over in the back seat.
Yeah,
that's an opportunity that presents itself, and it's a quick decision that they make.
Yeah, it definitely is. Definitely an opportunity. I mean, they're focused. They're goal oriented. You wouldn't believe. You would think that criminals are just criminals, but really, they think it out.
There's a thought process.
Yes. You got to think. Okay, what's going to be my reward? It's a goal. They're goal oriented. I got to fulfill this to not get caught. And ultimately, they don't want to get caught. They don't want to have any witnesses. So, I mean, they're cunning. They're fast, and they do commit the crimes.
So it's sort of break the glass and snatch the stuff, and you don't know what it's in, and just run, and then just run.
You're exposing a Macy's bag or a Louis Vuitton bag, and it's the holiday season. We tend to forget because we want to make that quick stop, go into the store, and just purchase something really fast and come out. And
Yeah,
you're
I
forgetting
think that's what a lot of people
yeah,
do.
yeah.
So you're saying probably not in somebody's view in the trunk, although people, they kind of scout, right?
Yeah, we recommend that before you, like when you leave an area, store your high-end merchandise that you purchase or anything that you feel valuable to you into a trunk or away from plain view. And people will watch. People are actually in the parking lot watching, and they'll see you actually putting your merchandise in the trunk. They're going to observe that. Is it harder to gain entry into the trunk, or is it easier for me just to break that window and get the merchandise in the front? But we want to advise the community to take the time just to think about where you're going to be going, and the time of day you're going to be out and everything, and take extra time to just to store away your high-end goods or the merchandise that you purchase.
So it's probably not a good idea to go shopping, run out to the car, drop off your goods, and run back in, kind of thing.
No,
because there could be people who are waiting for you to go back in the mall or something like that, and will take the opportunity.
Yeah, we're seeing they're actually getting sophisticated. We had cases where they'll go by the garages and everything, and they'll rev their engines to set up the alarms. So people would be distracted and they'll be focusing on one parking area while the other parking area is being hit because the alarms are going off. So they rev the engine to set off, the sensitive alarms and everything. So, it's just their
Wow,
tactics that
that's
they're
pretty
using.
cunning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's one way you can prevent yourself from being a victim while you're out shopping. What about at home? There's a lot of break-ins. People know there's a Christmas tree or presents under the tree, right?
You just have to be vigilant, both out and abroad, and of course at home. Take the precautionary measures to make sure that you secure your home. That vigilancy should not just carry feeling safe that I'm inside my house, my domain, I'm going to be safe. Take an extra mile. I do it all the time. I get up and, when I use the restroom, I walk around the house and everything. I check and I recheck and I check again. I check the doors. My wife is, she's really adamant about it. Make sure the doors are locked. Make sure the doors are locked. The kids are trained in that. Make sure that the doors and the windows are secured and everything. And there's nothing wrong with rechecking because it keeps you in that mindset that, okay, anything can happen, and I'm ready for, I'm ready for the situation to come. And this is where we fall victim is when we're caught off guard. We're complacent even in our own home that, this is my house, nothing's going to happen. I don't expect this intruder to be here. But when you're preparing, when your mind is set that, okay, I'm going to get up to use the restroom, let me go around the house.
Yeah.
Let me just look around the living room and the family den and everything to see if anything's out of the ordinary. I even take the extra measures by actually checking my kids' rooms to make sure that they're okay too. So it's just a thought process in what we do. You can do a lot. Purchasing some. We're actually seeing a lot of CCTV footage that are actually being utilized in helping us with our investigation, and it's really been helping a lot of our investigators close a lot of cases.
Yeah, the video surveillance technology, that also works in stores. Do you think that a lot of stores, if most stores are making sure they have that kind of equipment in there?
It's an investment. You wanna not only protect your investment and everything, but also protect the customers that are going to patronize your stores and everything. So we're seeing a rise in mom and pop stores purchasing high resolution CCTV equipment and everything, and it's really it's hitting a trend where your smartphone can actually be your monitor and everything. So a lot of homes. I go out and I speak to a lot of the neighborhoods concerning Neighborhood Watch program, and I have a lot of homeowners they acknowledge that they have CC footage, and some of the village mayors have a database of homes that have CC footage, and in the event of a crime being committed in their village, they can fall back to that database and ask the homeowners who are members of the Neighborhood Watch program if they can view the footage in the event that there's something credible that the officers can work with.
Shoplifting is another big thing. Mm-hmm. People get really desperate for gifts.
Yeah. Everybody's caught up on the register side and everything, and you're going to see, the influx of customers coming in. A lot of stores are taking precautionary measures. They're actually hiring temporary employees or additional employees, just to be the eyes and ears of the stores.
And sometimes they pose as regular customers.
Yeah.
You wouldn't notice them. They're dressed,
Yeah.
as shoppers. And
Yeah, loss prevention. Even the grocery stores, we're starting to see uniform loss prevention officers because you're right. People are getting desperate, and it's a struggle to make ends meet and everything. And the demand and the needs for necessities, it's becoming to where we're seeing it in our local supermarkets. And you usually find loss prevention officers or loss prevention agents at your major retailers such as Ross or Liberty House, Macy's, or Macy's, or the major DFS and everything. But now we're starting to see it in our major supermarket chains, loss prevention, because now we're starting to see the need for necessities.
Well, people, we've been seeing these crimes that have occurred on Guam. People flat out robbing establishments with people there, customers there, or or holding. I mean, we've just seen a lot of it, and then the technology allows us to see these suspects and people of color. So you've been able to solve a greater number of crimes with that. But I want to get into another part of the crimes that are committed, and maybe some thoughts from you about the mental health issues that we have in the community, and as police officers, how you deal with these people who have problems that are having a hard time maintaining or dealing. There has to be a kind of sensitivity that you have to, and I'm sure you've been trained in that. And we'll find a lot of people who have that will surface now with the problems that they have of depression and that sort of thing, and maybe some experiences that you have dealing with people who are depressed and are out there and walking around in the community. And then we'll talk about how you can save yourself from being a victim, and then how you can report the crime as well, anonymously through Crime Stoppers. We're talking with the Officer Paul Tapao from the Guam Police Department. We'll take a break, be right back. Great. Welcome back to Something to Talk About with Officer Paul Tapao from Guam Crime Stoppers, the Guam Police Department. We're talking a bit about Christmas crimes. I hate to say it like that because it's kind of negative, but the reality of the situation is that people use this season to take advantage of people's kindness, which is really difficult. And there are people who, we all have that sort of mindset. It's a time of giving, and we all want to be there to help each other. So sometimes we tend to look the other way, turn the other cheek, and make allowances. We do have an issue with mental health.
Yes.
And we see it with some of our homeless, the homeless in the community that present themselves, and we see them all the time on the streets. That's a delicate matter for you guys. Because you have to handle them in a completely different way. Yeah,
we're usually the first responders to a lot of the calls and dealing with emotionally disturbed and everything. And it's good that you brought that up, because during the holiday season you're going to see, and kudos for the holiday hotline, and a big thank you and appreciation to the Guam Behavior, our folks at Guam Behavior. They've worked diligently for the last couple of years in assuring that our officers have the tools and knowledge in how to deal with situations with emotionally disturbed, and also to become suicide prevention mentors and everything to the assist programs, in which they actually train our officers to identify suicide tendency within the community, or within a person of need of service.
Can you recognize that easy? Are you trained to recognize that?
You're gonna go off of cues, and then you're gonna have to ask the ultimate question: are you contemplating suicide? And that's the training that teaches you, because really it's hard as a person. I went into the assist training and I was like, oh no, I'm thick-skinned, I'm a police officer, nothing can get by me. And then they asked them the question: are you contemplating suicide? It was harder for me because in real life situation, it's like our ultimate goal is to save lives, life over property.
Did it feel kind of like you were interfering with that person? You're asking a very personal question.
Yes. It's that feeling and everything. But through the assist training that Guam Behavior, offers our officers and our first responders, we're starting to see that now the reaction time or the reports that are generated by our patrol officers they're providing the needs, the services by recommendation for observation at Guam Behavior, or they call in our partners with Guam Behavior to assist them with a crisis situation, because it is a crisis. Once we identify.
So, but once if you come up against somebody who, to you, has indicated that there is some sort of emotional or mental distress, do you immediately call mental health or Guam Behavior Wellness Center, or do you make an initial assessment?
Yes.
That will bring you to the next step?
Yes. And it's usually generated through our person of needs of service, and our officers and our supervisors, our line supervisors out in the streets. They actually, they go through the process with the person of needs of service calls, by making sure that, do we have the adequate facilities? We're gonna have to activate or call Guam Fire to assist us with transport. We're gonna have to make assessments with the Guam Memorial Hospital, and we're there. The officers are actually there with the client through the end until they've actually been given the help and the services that are needed.
Yeah.
So our officers are really, they have that sense of we want to help, and we're here for the community.
Do you run into that more often during this period, during this season?
Yeah.
Than normal.
Really, it's like we said, the expectations for family members and everything is sometimes so overwhelming that some people, some of the lives that were lost, actually there was no telltale sign. It was just they couldn't handle the stressors and everything associated with the holiday season. But we want to reach out to the family members that you don't have to wait for that. You can actually be the reporting person. You can actually go ahead and call the Guam Police Department, or call Guam Fire, or even call Guam Behavior.
So you mean the person doesn't necessarily have to have committed a crime, as much as you have a hunch that something might be
wrong,
off. Yeah. I guess that's another question I wanted to ask, because in Guam Crime Stoppers, you guys try to get people to give them a call under any circumstances, even if it's just a feeling or a hunch, like I said. Is that cumbersome on the system when people say, I think that this might be happening?
No, because it's information we don't have. People are. One thing great about that is that now the sense of awareness of crimes being committed in the community, people are actually reporting strange and unusual events that are happening, either to the precincts or to Guam Crime Stoppers. And that's information that I didn't know of. That's information that the average beat officer didn't know. So that information sharing that we're getting from the community, it really is, because we're like the outsiders looking into a community. And when you have somebody from internal within the community coming forward and say, hey, there's a house down the street that's it's a one-way street, but you might want to come take a look at it. There's some activity going on that we don't know, but they're happening at odds ends of the days and when people should be sleeping. I mean, that's something that we need, and to spark an investigation, or to spark some kind of file that we can say, okay, we got a suspicious call of activities happening in this area. This was generated to the Crime Stoppers. Let's see if it materializes to something bigger and better.
Okay.
So the calls that come in, we encourage that, regardless if you feel that it's not credible or not. Send us the calls, and we'll work it from there.
Okay, but you're also, we were just covering this story about how there was an announcement by the Lieutenant Governor Ray Tenorio and Chief J.I. Cruz about a new program that embeds officers into the neighborhoods.
The Mandania Initiative. Yes.
And this is an opportunity for you to meet the folks in the hood and familiarize yourself with which residents live in what neighborhoods?
Yeah. Part of the Mandania Initiative it's about re-engaging the partnership with the community and the Guam Police. It is a partnership that needs to marry, and what the Mandania Initiative is, it actually puts our what we call our community resource officers in each precinct within the various villages and everything. So you're going to see officers with the mountain bikes. You're going to see officers. Back then, I was a mountain bike officer, and we wore high shorts. So there's a little requirement now. So they're wearing cargo shorts and everything. So they took that part away.
Oh, yeah.
But you're going to easily recognize them with their uniforms, and of course, their willingness to be a part of the community. They're doing business assessments in the mom and pop stores. They're going to be doing home assessments to to, for any resident who's requesting to see if their house is vulnerable to crime. How can we prevent crime from breaking from happening into our home? Our resource officers will actually go out into the resident.
Oh, no kidding. I didn't realize that.
make
So they'll go out
assessment.
and give you advice on what
Yeah.
you can do to strengthen your home.
Absolutely. Simple as changing doors or moving hinges inside the house rather than exposing it out. I mean, our officers are going to be part of the community, and that's part of the chief's initiative. And we're actually seeing and hearing positive things coming out from the Mandania initiative. So
Do you have enough resource officers for something like that? I mean, does it depend on the size of the village, the number of people that can be dedicated to it?
Yeah. So I think every precinct has dedicated resource officers for each precinct assigned, and pretty much the resource officers, they're actually there for the community. They're actually out and about within doing community affairs related, such as establishing neighborhood watch program, visiting the schools, and of course interacting with the citizens or with the constituents within the community.
So everybody is on a bike, or is that what's the mode of transportation?
We have police cars too that they utilize,
Okay.
but we want them to be apart, because really when you're in a mountain bike, you see more. Everything slows down versus
Yeah.
the car and everything. When I was a mountain bike officer at Tumon Precinct, I mean, I saw stuff I never saw while riding a car and everything. I'm like, well, let me check this place out, And I met people that I bypassed within the car and everything. So the beautiful thing about it is that you're actually moving in where streets you couldn't access with cars and everything. So that's what the community resource officers. That's the beautiful thing about that unit.
Yeah, I was asking about the co-bonds too, because there are some co-bonds that are not even being used anymore.
Talafofa
either,
just
right?
dedicated a co-ban to us, and as we speak right now, Officer Susie Santos, who's with our community affairs, she's working hand in hand with the community members in also utilizing the co-ban within Talafofa, but also establishing a neighborhood watch that's going to be used as part of that hub within the community members. Yeah, so
right.
We're starting to utilize all our assets within the community.
Well, we're wrapping up this conversation. I wanted to see whether or not it was possible for you to tell our viewing audience, where they can call, how they can get a hold of Crime Stoppers, and just whatever platforms are available to.
Yeah, first and foremost, any emergency, please call 911. Don't hesitate. Call 911. Give a description of where you're at. You don't even need to leave your name or contact number for 911. That's an actual emergency that's happening in progress. Please call 911. Give as much a description as you can. Or if you'd like to report a crime that's actually being committed in your community, and you're concerned, you can utilize our services with the Guam Crime Stoppers. We have various ways that you can get a hold of us. Our 477-HELP is our 24-hour hotline. Calls are actually, all calls are confidential, and we don't use caller ID. We don't use recording mechanism. You can visit our website at guam.crimestoppersweb.com, and you can submit a tip online. Again, it's the beauty of your home. You can actually utilize your computer, and we also have our text line at 486-HELP. Okay. Our partners with GTA, they've actually made the system to where it's just text that's coming in that and overseeing is the text information.
Yeah.
So these are beautiful ways in which you can actually report crime.
Thank you very much for helping us stay out of the
thank you so much
victims
for having me
list.
today.
Appreciate it. Merry Christmas
Merry
to you,
Christmas
Paul,
to
and
you
your
and
family.
Absolutely, Merry Christmas.
Well, that'll do it for us on Something to Talk About. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.